Hello, welcome back to my channel. Total Tarot parts 38, 39 arrived at the weekend, and this is my first chance to get to look at them. So let's take a look together. So I have the cards 10 for the Golden Art Nouveau coming along. My deck is coming along nicely. So we have 10 of Cups, 10 of Wands, and they are in lovely condition. We have the box with the deck, which I've gone ahead and pre-opened because it comes in two parts. I've popped it in here. So we'll do that one at the end. And without further ado, let's go straight into the magazines. So we have the After Tarot, as it says quite clearly there, in case anyone didn't realise which deck we get with this one, or these two parts. We have here, so Reading the Tarot, Elemental Dignities. And it's got an image here from the Tarot Illuminati, which came with parts 20 and 21. And this is, so what do we have? The technique uses elements to help assess the strength and weaknesses of a card in a spread. A matter of balance. The Justice is associated with the element of air. So of course this is the Justice card here, which is why we have that little kind of footnote at the bottom as something to read. It tells us about the fundamental principles and strong numbers. The aces from the four suits, cups, pentacles, wands and swords, represents the purest water, the most fertile earth, the brightest fire, and the cleanest air, respectively. So as we know, the aces represent the essence of the suit, and in many teachings, so too do the pages. So the aces and the pages are the essence of the suit. And we have a bit more information here. So what do we have? Which are the strong cards and therefore need to be given greater importance? Which are the weaker cards and which are the cards that can be ignored? So it's giving us some more background information into putting it into practice. We have it in practice here. Of course, I'm not going to give it all away. The elements and their associated tarot cards. So here we have the element pictorials. So fire, the magician, the emperor, the lovers, the devil, the sun. Water, the high priestess, the chariot, temperance, the star, the moon. Air, hierophant. I thought I'd already read that one out. No, I haven't. Hierophant, justice, hanged man, the tower and judgment. And then for earth, we have the empress, the hermit, strength, the wheel of fortune, death, which is this beautiful image here from Tarot Illuminati. I just wanted to go back, because I've never actually read them out in group settings like this. So air, the hierophant, justice, yes, the hanged man. Never really thought of the hanged man, but it does make sense because he's kind of hanging in the air. Also the perception, the thought that goes in behind it. The tower as an air card. Judgment, yes. Hierophant, I can see the tower. Right, so moving on. Our card in detail, Two of Pentacles. Opposites attract, the rhythm of life. Oh, I like that saying. Where does that come from? I like that saying. So our symbols, the high hat. And I have never thought of that as a high hat. I don't even know what I've looked at that as actually. Now that I'm looking at it, that it's been stood out to me. It's even more bizarre item on the top of his head. In fact, it's quite amusing. So I'm not going to speak out loud about that. So we should leave that there. We have the meanings and thematics, what the card shows us, correlations here. So number 2 with the Sephiro Chokma, which is wisdom. Element Earth, planet Jupiter, sign is Capricorn. Didn't realise. And the esoteric name, Lord of Harmonious Change. That should link into the Deacons and the Deacon Walk, if that's following T. Susan Chang's book, that is. Oh, we've got it all happening around here today. So we have the Worth Tarot here, the Angels Tarot, and the Klimt Tarot. I do want the Worth Tarot. I hope this comes through with this. And then other versions. So we have the Lo Scarabeo, 2 of discs, which actually they're not too dissimilar, are they? They're both snakes with coins in the middle, although this one has a little bit more definition. The Runic Tarot coming with 48 and 49. The Fae deck and the 2 of coins in here represents the dance of opposites. The Runic represents taking a break, and the Lo Scarabeo, this one represents infinity, of course, because it has the sign there. With the Pagan Tarot coming in parts 54 and 55, we have running or being late. We have Listening from our Shaman Tarot. We already have the Celtic Tarot. For those who don't, it comes in 16 and 17, and this is the Thread of Life and Infinity. So that's a beautiful one with the, oh dear, Troy Stone, is it? The Troy Maze? It's completely lost me over there. And then we have the, this one represents Struggle in the Dark Grimoire. I like that deck a lot, but I already own it, so I sort of don't want it to come in this set. I've had quite a few duplicates, and I really want this set to give me stuff that I don't own, but for those who don't have the Dark Grimoire, it is a really good deck. It's lovely imagery in there. The Manga Tarot parts 46 and 47, and this one represents balance. We have our traditional meanings upright and reverse there as well. Questions. So here are a few questions to ask yourself or your querent when the Two of Pentacles pops up. So there's some journaling questions in there as well. One of them being, are you having fun? Something to think about. The spreads are getting more elaborate. I'm definitely not going to be able to do this one today. So we have the Sands of Time. This is an 11 card spread. That's a lot of cards. Position 1 is the present moment. Positions 2 and 3 is the recent past. Positions 4, 5 and 6 is the distant past. Positions 7 and 8 is the near future. Positions 9, 10 and 11 is the distant future. So you could put that down as 3 lines. You could have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And same here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1 in the middle. And have it as 3 lines of cards going from recent past to distant past. Or the other way around. You might want to do it like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So your distant past is over here. But I think going from recent to distant and then near to distant sort of makes it easier to follow in your spread. But I think you could possibly do that with this, and you could lay them downwards as well. 2 rows of 5 downwards with a middle card in the middle. Perhaps it's not such a tricky spread. So there we have the meanings of the drawn cards from the representational spread on the other side. We are talking about the deck library for the After Tarot here, and we have the Major Arcana. So let's just see how this affects things. So the Chariot, should we say? So After Tarot with the Chariot. Forward motion and change. Your journey is underway and you're heading in the right direction. You're the king of the road, but might need to rein in some of your wilder impulses. So that's after you've made the move, I'm assuming. I've never worked with this deck, so it's going to be interesting to just kind of like even look at the cards. And the deck in detail, it allows us to explore the arcana in a way that shows us what might happen next. Okay. So the 8 of Cups shows a woman here finding the cups abandoned by the man. So there's our man that walks off, and then we have a new person that's come in, and we have blood and water here. The author of both the After and Before decks is Corinne Kenner, a US writer and tarot master, Italian illustrator and cartoonist. Giulia Francesca Massaglia is responsible for the artwork of the After deck. Her other work includes the Mucha Tarot and the Romantic Tarot for Los Scarabeo. Okay. Then we have our Minor Arcana and some of the cards there. And it's still talking about the After Tarot, different fools, going further, the collective wisdom. So there's lots of information there to read about the deck to give you some background and insight. And again, let's pick one. So we have we've talked about the 8 of Cups. So finders keepers, when we abandon our dreams, others might claim them. You can set things right, make the most of what you have. Isn't that interesting? A bit like one person's rubbish is somebody's treasure. And there we have the pictorial reference to the majors. Moving straight into part 39. So we have Going Deeper with, who are we doing this? There are several ways to make tarot readings more profound. 1, the wrong question. There will be times when when the cards on table, even while making perfect sense, do not have any bearing to the question. That has happened to me a couple of times. So that statement there does make sense to me. It's when you ask a shallow question because you don't really want to ask the question that you need to know the answer to. So sometimes you'll ask a question and the cards that come out will be the deeper answer to what's going on inside that you didn't want to ask or afraid to ask or didn't want to voice out loud. And you'll get that come out sometimes in the cards. It's really interesting when that happens. But sometimes people don't like it. So we have the unspoken. The querent may not ask the question. So that's the other thing. So somebody may not ask a question when you're reading for them. And I used to really enjoy doing those readings. And you can unpick what's going on then. And just it tests the cards. It's I can't explain it. It's not an ego thing. It's a fascinating thing to do. Somebody keeps the question in their head. And they don't really interact too much with you about what you're saying, but you get to say what you need to say. And then at the end, they kind of give their feedback, and then you can get deeper into the reading. But it shows you how close you might be to understanding the cards and how close the cards are to coming out to answering that question. So it's really interesting to do. Seeking clarification and absence of question. And then we have adapting the spread. If the reader gets the sense that the answer is hiding the querent's real question, they can quickly adapt the spread. For example, they could choose 3 cards and place them on one side of the layout, saying, the first card reveals why this question is important. The second card represents what you really want to know. And the third card is the action you can take to deal more directly with the situation. That's interesting. I like that approach. I normally throw more cards out, but I don't have questions or a way of examining or cross-referencing them when I do that. I just drop them on the table and see what comes through. Different points of view, abstract. What's this? Abstraction. No hard and fast rules that state a reader must know and understand everything a querent feels about a situation. And then it goes on for more detail there, so that's probably more about the ethics of the readings that you're giving. Here we have our 3 of Pentacles in detail with the power of creative collaboration. Keywords, and again, breaking down the symbolisms in this card. The thematics and what the card shows us are reversals, of course, because we're now on to the number 3 of Pentacles, was it? What did I just look at? I can't believe I've forgotten. Look, it was on the other page. Oh, it's right there. 3 of Pentacles. So we have our correlations to the card here. So number 3, of course, Sephira Bina, understanding. Element is Earth, planet is Mars, sign is Capricorn, and the esoteric name is Lord of Material Works. Makes sense because we're talking about earthly possessions. Then we have our low scarabée with 3 of Pentacles, represents adding details. The Pagan Tarot is the 3 and 1. Our Neferatu is freedom of money. The Pre-Raphaelite, test yourself, that came as parts 10 and 11. The Shaman Tarot comes in parts 60 and 61, and this represents the beat of life. The over here, back to the Dark Grimoire, represents giving shape to darkness. We have the Fae Tarot, clarity of inspiration, and the Tarot of the White Cats, which is one that I already have, parts 30-31, is valued skills. And again up here, so we have the Klimt showing off its beautiful artwork, the Angels Tarot, and the Worth. And we have a second spread, so alternate timelines. 7 card spread, major and minor, to explore 2 different possible timelines. So you lay out 1 single card here, and then you have your, I guess, your 2 timelines there. So card 1 is the present moment. Excuse me, I'm yawning here in the background. The card is the first position that represents a querent's current situation or a particular dilemma that they're facing in this moment in time. I can't see from first look whether that is one that you intuitively pull out of the deck or one that you just shuffle out. So that one, after shuffling and cutting the deck in the usual way, the reader should lay out cards as pictured in the diagram. The spread starts with a single card to represent the current situation, then the reader should deal 2 parallel rows. Okay, yeah, so it comes from the deck as you shuffle. And then there's an example reading again, and the breakdown of the example reading here going through to help you understand and improve your readings if you're new to tarot. We have the Interpreting Dreams part 2 here. I will admit I didn't look at Interpreting Dreams part 1 properly yet. And then we have the World of Tarot. So we are talking about Jean-Baptiste Alliette, Atella 2, continuing story of French celebrity fortune teller Atelier, who was the forefront when it came to turning tarot cards into a system for divination. So I've heard lots of that. There is information here that we can go back and forth with. And then we have the Petit Atelier, so I'm guessing this is the deck, cards from the deck, stenciled painted etchings, published by Grimoald in Paris in 1895, cartomancy game of 32 cards. It was created by Atelier and first published in 1971. So it says 32 cards. That makes me wonder if this was a Lenormand, maybe. And then we have our pictorial reference again for the minors in the After Tarot. Right, let's get a look at these cards. So we have our two cards that come always in the deck. We have some beautiful backs on these. I love the cardstock. I'm not complaining about this stuff. So this is our After Tarot. During Tarot, deck number 1 that came with this. And Before Tarot. So the roses and lilies are more elaborate on the 2 extra decks, whereas the roses and lilies on this one are less obvious. In fact, not many people really pick up that they're roses and lilies until they look very, very closely at what they're looking at. So we're focusing on this deck today. But let's go through. And then you can see what you think. So hopefully, sorry, this is going to work for you all without being too onerous. Her crescent's facing the other direction in this one. That's a big difference. And of course we have the owl, I think that is in this one. And she's got her keys back out there. So, I mean, other than the moon facing a different direction, I can't really see a lot more going on in that. She's still got her keys. And her bird's flown. Her headdresses are different. Okay. So she's got a little flock of swans with her. It's a little bit off-putting because the images are slightly different. It would be useful if they were all in the same art style, I think. You know, if these two were the same, because this is really similar to this, but they are very different. You have a Hierophant preaching from the Bible. They haven't really moved. Nor have they grown any hair miraculously. Here's our Lovers. And we have the Apple. And the Sword of Thought and Knowledge, I'm guessing. Our Chariot. So actually moving rather than stationary. That's nice. I like that. That one's cute. That one's nice. Maybe she's not looking to be quite so mean with this one. Perhaps it is just, you know, checking there's nothing naughty in the mouth and giving them a cuddle. Reminds me of my dog. Here's our Hermits. And that's a nice addition, actually, to this. So instead of the staff, we have a snake. And we have a dog. But we do have the snake there, look. And he's about to put the star into his lantern to create light. What do we have? So we have a monkey on the side instead of a snake. Not really a lot more change. Obviously the letters have turned, but that's about it. And here's our Justice. So we have the Dove with the peace olive branch, Justice, sword now in hand, dealing out justice, and then here's what happens afterwards. Here's our Hanged Man. Somebody's feeding water, because, you know, you can dry out sat up there all that time. The Death card. So it's like somebody mourning here instead of... So here we have lots of gravestones. Here we have like that kind of trampling effect and a couple of people there. And a king type person. Possibly down on the floor here. And then these two people here. So she's mourning the death of the child in her hands. So... Temperance. What do we have here? So it's like she's giving life to a bird there, isn't it? Taking flight. The sun's definitely coming up. So instead of, okay, so she's collecting the water, we're mixing, and then we're giving above as below. There's our Devil. He's the most ripped devil of all of them. And, ooh la la. I say, PG-13. We have the Tower. We have them falling, and here we have them actually hitting the floor. And the tower's actually completely kind of like broken. So there is no going back. So that's interesting. Here we have our Star. She's on her way to the water's edge amongst the beautiful wild flowers. We've got that kind of 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on the land, and we're feeding both. And then here we are using it to cleanse. This is more of a cleansing of land and self in the waters rather than adding or pouring out into the waters. And an actual person walking towards us. It's hard to tell. Is the dogs barking at that person or greeting that person? With our Sun, no horse. And I think we always knew that these weird looking naked baby child type things were trouble, didn't we? They're not behaving, clearly not behaving. Judgment. So that's interesting to have skeletons. Now, is this the actual souls of the skeletons transcending, or are they being called? So that's a very interesting difference, isn't it? So we have dead people, stood upright, skeletons, and floaters. Here we have our world. So in the before, we had 2 people. And then in the after, we have 1 person, and during 1 person. So he came, he saw, he got. She became wise and remained wise. You can see how you can build stories with these cards, definitely. That's nice to see a heart in the deck. We have a fish, the one that we're most familiar with. I'm not familiar with the fish here. And then we have a bird flying away with the Eucharist. Here's our 2. So we have a good cuddle, and we have a cat. Well, 3 is just a good old party all the way. So before the drinks, here's the toast, and a few vodkas in, or mead, a few glasses of mead in. This chap sat on the side because he doesn't like dancing, I'm guessing, so he's just sat over here drinking, bored. And it turns out he's an ungrateful little so-and-so. Look, he's tipped it out. He's been offered all of his drinks and he's tipped one out. Or has he been offered 1 too many and just can't drink the last one but didn't want to say no? Our 5. So feeling a bit chilly. Nothing like a good old, pat on the back, is there? A little self-hug. Here's our 6s. So everyone's skipping off happily into the distance. All our plants look happy and fulfilled. Close your eyes, don't peek. Yep, you can look now, but you can only pick one. Which one did he go for? The one that many often look at is the riches. Yeah, so we have taken all the jewels, but we also have the snake there that's come with the jewels. I'm guessing he wouldn't have picked the snake and the jewels, so it's interesting that the snake has now wrapped itself around the waist. So constriction. Maybe constriction of greed. Here we have the 8 of Cups. So as we've said and discussed this, so we have him, so he's had a drink and then he's kind of like put it down and he's walked away. And then she's come along and she's like, oh, there's still some fluid here. I can still nourish myself. Here's our 9, filling the cups. I always said polishing his brass and having some food to wash it all down with. Maybe he's going to offer him a cup in return for the food. Here we go. So 10 of Cups, running from the rain, hailing the sunshine and drying out, and then a nice little fire to warm the cockles in the evening. Everyone being merry. So there's that naughty little bird, seagull, dropping the fish into the cup. But the fish didn't want to stay in there, so he's going to jump out and disappear off and thrive. Here we have our knights. The landscape's changed. We've now got flowing waterfall as well. But he's at the point of his journey here where he's needing to replenish himself and have some drink from the cup that was offered to him, that he's carried so gallantly. Our queen, so even she is looking into her cup. Can't quite tell what she's taken out there. Fish. She pulled the fish out. Maybe she's feeling peckish. Perhaps that's packed lunch. She might be pescatarian. King of Cups. So he's been given a cup, which he's carried, and now he's deciding that he needs to, whatever the magic is of his cup, he needs to offer into the surroundings. So he's sharing with his surroundings, perhaps. Although he does look like a little bit grumpy there. Right, bear with me 1 second. Right, sorry, I had the wrong cards from the order. So here's our aces. Oh, and it's turned into a beetle and the coin is on the floor, so that's interesting. I don't know what that beetle represents. I mean, first thing I've got through my head is a dung beetle because it represents land and fertilization. But here we have our 2s. Now that he's turned around, there's a boat there and he's seeing people off. Still got his funny cap on his head. So planning, creating, and then I guess the tidying process or admiring of the work. That person looks like they've been immortalised into the work as well. So perhaps that's what he's working on alone over here while they're having a look. And then there it is as he stands back to admire his work. This one's curious. So people giving them what they have, holding on to it, and then at the end of the day, you can't take it with you. This one's a bit sad, isn't it? I'll bring that little doggy in and warm them up. But it turns out we've not just got 2 people outside needing help, we've got more. Or is this person about to offer them help because they wouldn't ask for it themselves? So lots going on in those cards actually for the 5 of Pentacles. Lots of things to ponder and think on. Here we have our 6. So giving out more. So just not just people that came across, but other people who are in need. Sharing charitable works. Our 7 of Pentacles, so after all his hard work, he's only going to take what he needs. He's not going to harvest the entire tree, just what he needs for now, and then, back tomorrow. And after all the diligence, we were able to create great works. Generally, I just get gratitude and enjoyment of the land that you have and what's around you and your surroundings, especially here, being able to go out into the garden and pick some grapes and feast, nourish yourself on the goodness of the land. And then we have our 10. This is quite interesting. So this is inheritance for me. This one is inheritance. More so financially inheriting rather than the inheritance of the wealth, of the knowledge and the sharing of the people around you, and having, grandparents and skills and things being taught to you. And wasn't expecting that in the Page of Pentacles. Not at all. Here's our Knight. Hope I'm not going too slow for you. So he's still walking forward. So he hasn't really changed, has he? He's collected, he's carrying, he's protecting, and he's continuing to do so. So he hasn't changed much in his character. Still stoic. There's our Queen. So she is admiring what she has. We have a hare, which is sort of in this one as well. Although it's been handed to her by a snake. So that is interesting. And here's our King. Again, he always looks very sort of grumpy in this deck. The males look a bit grumpy and harsh in this deck. Here he does look sad. But we have the Taurus coming in element now. That sort of emperor-y type feeling as well, isn't it? With that one. So we are into the Wands. We have the Salamander. So a bit more meaning in this one. A family of magpies are in the garden. I have about 10 of them out there at the moment, talking to each other. And we have our 2. So this is nice to see. So he's bringing somebody else along with his future visions. Reminds me of the Fairy Tale of New York song, my favourite song. We have our 3, and he's releasing his bird off into the kind of sunset. 4. So that's like that honeymoon. So you've got like you're arriving for the wedding celebration, and then the leaving for the honeymoon kind of celebrations. Our 5. It's nice to see everyone sat down, kind of looking around to see what we achieved from this. Do excuse Marjorie, she decided that she doesn't want the magpies in the garden. She's gone to get rid of them. So our 6, so there we have like that kind of blessing before you go off. This is like you're heading off, whereas before I used to see this as arrival, but this is like heading off. And after, I guess, being greeted on your way back. So the wreath, he's now offering, I guess, his maiden when he's arriving in. So it's like an offering there rather than just him being the person that's being kind of, praised. With our 7s. Now that's interesting, isn't it? So here we have like the before battle, prepping for battle, making it known that, here's your line and here's where you stand. And then here we go, like full swing. Our 8, we have Salamander over here, just straightforward 8 of Wands. And they might be coming in this way, but he's firing out that way. So he's sending a message out as well as the one that's coming in. Like a reciprocating, I guess. 9. So sort of defending from this wolf that's coming in or trying to get into the camp, aren't we, by putting them up and being on vigilance. And then it's always nice to have somebody else come and give you a hand, isn't it? Although this guy's a bit like, what are you doing? Where did you come from? Is that your wolf in sheep's clothing? Ten, assessing the mess, because that was just too much to carry. So pages. He's definitely appreciating his shiny knob here, but here he doesn't look like it's quite such a great thing. So that's an interesting one. We're all facing in the same direction, but we're clearly moving fast because we now have a Sphinx in the background. I don't really have much more to say about those ones. They're quite basic. Our Queen. Kitty's playing with the salamander. The cat's in all of these. And she's like bending down to collect the sunflowers being offered to her. So they're all pretty much the same, just different views of what she's doing while she's sat on her throne. So let's see what the king's up to. Again, so he's let go of his wand, but he's playing with his salamander. We don't have sight of the lion here, so the lion's obviously gone on his way to do something else. And then we have the swords. So we have bird ready to take flight, or a kestrel rather, with the gloved hand. So that's very different, isn't it? Because we're taking the sword out of the stone, we're hailing the sword, and then we're collecting a bird. I don't know what the meaning of kestrel is, so I need to look that up. Oh, Two of Swords. Maybe she can't watch. How about that? Maybe she really can't watch. So she sat down, she has the swords, she doesn't want to watch what's about to unfold between the two people. So she holds the swords ready for them to take for the duel, which they've done. And then they are off to battle, although she does look like she's peeking slightly. Mending a broken heart. There we go. This, I think, frustrates most of us. It's all because of the solar busker. So we have butterflies while we're resting, remaining resting, and then we have somebody offering us a flower, a little white flower, and coming to visit us. So you could view this as somebody's resting place rather than resting for relaxation, to recoup, to redress the world. There is an element here that feels like resting place now when you put all three decks together, isn't there? This has more of that element. Sorry, I was just thinking to myself then, forgot I'm videoing and I should be speaking to the camera. So we have almost like they've come to attack him and he's defending himself. They've run off. These two didn't win. So he's like, ha, don't come at me with your rubbish because I will always outsmart you. And now I'm telling stories with cards. I never thought I'd see the day this happened. We've got to the other side and off we go. And he's helping us with our luggage. So he's bringing the three swords. Although he's a different person, he's carrying the three swords that were in this card. Now we have 5 swords in his hand, which we do here. But look, so he's So here he may well have collected his swords or collected his bounty or collected somebody else's swords. Maybe he's actually trying to stop an issue happening by collecting the weapons so it can't happen, sneaking them away. However, somebody knows that he's about to stick his nose in where it's not wanted and they're going to snare that person. So they're going to get caught out doing whatever it is that they're doing. However, whatever the meaning is behind what they're doing, if that makes sense. So we have somebody marching her into her prison, locking her in there and leaving her where she can't find her way out. And then we have the help. Somebody's actually cutting her free and helping her to come out of there. So the punishment is done. Slaying your dragons. And that kind of final resting, there's nothing more to come of this situation. It's come to an end. So we have that kind of He-Man stance and pose going on here. But instead of looking backwards, he's now looking forwards. In fact, he's relaxed his pose a bit, isn't he? He's looking that way and he's got people coming in his direction. So maybe he's just kind of like getting ready for what's coming. Knight of Swords. Slaying your opponents. There we go. So we're not just like, I'm off to battle, here we go, charge. It's, yep, take that. You dare cross me, I will come at you. I will not lay down like a sleeping dragon and let you ruin my sleep. How about that? Queen of Swords. So the fairy's giving her the crown. So here we are, and she's taking up her place on the crown. And then we have the butterfly showing the gentle side of this Queen of Swords. So she's, not this miserable person that everyone kind of thinks she is and cold and callous. She actually has meaning behind what's going on. She is very much in tune and gentle as well. And our King of Swords as the last one. Again, we have a very similar sort of thing going on here, don't we? We have companionship. This must be the crown from the Ace of Swords with his sword that he's being handed here, which is the one that you see in the Ace. Looking a bit sort of lonely, but then actually there's so much more to be grateful of and around us and to watch what's happening around us. And he's got his bird, his companion, coming to see him. Okay. Right, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was fun to see the 3 decks put down together side by side. It would be lovely, because I'm never done with my gratefulness, am I? It would be nice to have the in-between. There's an in-between tarot which shows what happens in between the deck, in between the cards, sorry. So it'd be nice to see an in-between, but I don't know if it would affect any of this. So the in-between goes between, say, the Queen of Swords and the King of Swords. It's what happens in between those 2 cards. So there's a deck that does that. And then there's also the opposition tarot, which would be lovely. And then that kind of sets out this entire system of RWS. But I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care and bye-bye.